Hi guys. Hi Eric.
Hey Daniel, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm good. And hi everyone who is here joining us for this episode of SAX TRAX with Eric Marienthal. Very happy to be here hosting today's special episode. And Eric, how's everything where you are right now?
Everything is good, Daniel. Thank you. You and I are about how many? More than 6,000 miles apart, as a matter of fact, right?
Yeah, it's like 15 hours time zone difference. But very, very happy that we can do this together. And we have a very, very special guest, which we'll introduce shortly. And this next today's and next week's episode is really special because we have two of the most important people who are part of your album, your upcoming album that you're gonna release soon. So we're so glad to have them on this show to be part of it. And Eric, let's see who's here. I think some of you guys were here very early in the show already in the chat.
Yeah. Well, I see all my my artist works folks. Hey, Marcelo, what's going on, man?
That's
Obrigado.
great.
Felipe, what's going on? Let's see. Roger. Hey, Roger. All right, two Rogers. Roger Pace and Roger Lex. Phil, of course.
Yeah.
And Phil from Australia. It's 10:30 in the morning. It was when you wrote that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that worked out pretty cool. That's good.
Wow, we have HJ here from Holland and it's 4 a.m. now in Holland.
Oh man,
So thank you for staying up for this.
absolutely. Adrian, hello. Hey, Andy. All right. Hey, man. Thanks, man.
All
Uh,
right.
right on. Yeah. Well, the today, like you mentioned, today's show is featuring. Well, we're going to feature our beautiful special guest. He's very beautiful. I don't know about it was. You guys can't see him. I can see him in my little side box here, and he blushed when I said beautiful. There we go. But we are going to be featuring the record that I was honored to do with the great Randy Brecker. And George Whitty is our special guest, and he produced the record. I am a little almost. By the time we're done today, you'll realize that George should have been pictured on the cover as well too, because it's as much George's record as it was Randy's and mine. George not only produced the record, but he played all over it and really created a lot of the the instruments that we played with. So George, if you're not familiar with George Whitty, he is of Brecker Brothers fame and all kinds of groups, plus his own great records and group and all. But I don't have to brag about him. He's going to do that all by himself. So, no, I'm just kidding. George is one of the most amazing musicians on the planet. He's also one of the most humble. So, so we'll talk all about how we made our record. It was really incredibly fun, and one of the most fun records I've ever actually got to do. Yeah,
that's awesome. Eric, do you want to start off with a tune?
I could very well do that. As a matter of fact, George sent me a couple of tracks last night, minus me, from the record. So I could actually attempt. Now, I haven't done this, and we're all about being real here on this show. So I haven't really, I've listened to the song a whole bunch, and obviously I recorded, but I haven't actually gotten the chance to ever play it live. So this will be kind of the rehearsal slash, get to know the tune again. So, so is it cool? Can I play this one off the record?
Yeah, I think that would be a great treat for everyone.
We can play it off this record right here. Whoa, there it is. I think, well, you got your stuff back.
And yes, we forgot to mention as well that there's gonna be, you're very, very kind to decide to give away 2 CDs today just for you guys who are watching live. So definitely look out for that. 2 simple questions, and the first to answer will get 2 signed CDs by Eric, which is so kind of him to do that, for you guys who have been here. Some of you are, probably waking up at odd hours or staying up late to watch this. So we're very thankful for that. And so now Eric's going to feature this tune. And which tune is this, Eric?
This is the title track. This is actually one that George and I wrote together. And the record is called Double Dealin'. So title track, the song is called Double Dealin' as well. It, of course, as the record does, it's a collaboration between myself and Randy Brecker, the legendary Randy Brecker. So you'll hear I'll be playing along with him, and then you'll hear his great solo. So here we go. This is Double Dealin' from a record which will come out in about 10 days, a week from Friday, this September 11th. So here we go. Sorry, let's start it from the beginning, shall we? Okay. The debut performance. The debut performance, live performance from me anyway. That was double dealing. Right on. And there you go. Daniel, I don't hear you. Daniel.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, thank you so much, Eric, for playing us that. That was amazing. And I think someone was asking, was it Roger? Roger asked if you were playing the exact same solo on the album.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, that's another written solo that no, I didn't. Purely improvised.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
we talked about that. Did we talk about that last time? Maybe, but in these, well, we can talk about it with George. But when we recorded the record, we were, it was half pre-COVID, half post-COVID, I guess, kind of in between. And
mm,
so any idea of live recording together was, um, you know, decided for us. We weren't able to do that, and so it became a matter of like, making a record. Not that it's unheard of. It certainly is very common to make the record without being together, but we did it remotely. George lives about 2 hours from me, and Randy lives in New York, and the other two musicians were in different places too. So, but getting, it's interesting because you still want to approach the playing live. On my solos, I may not have. Well, obviously, I didn't keep the first solo. Actually, that's not entirely true. There is one tune that I did actually, but you can still maintain like a live ethic when you're playing by continuing to play and not like punching in this and punching in that and punching that every other lick. David Sanborn, I'm very proud to say, is a really good friend. I talk to him all the time. I talked to him today, and he taught me that. He said, "Man, when you're overdubbing, just play from beginning to end. And yeah, you might, if something sounds out of tune." Truth be told, if you squeak or something's whatever, a head rushed, you can fix those kinds of things. But you want to maintain the flow of the communication, within your own solo, and then what's going on in the track and in the band. So, yeah. So to that extent, it was, we, and you could tell Randy was doing the same thing.
maybe if I could ask a bit more, like usually, do you try to keep your first takes as far as possible, or in terms of your solos, or do you take several and then see which one feels the best?
It really depends. Um, on this record, the fourth tune on the record is one called "Mind the Fire" that we wrote for in memory of the great Chuck Loeb, and when I recorded that, we wrote that tune, George and I as well, right here. And George left, and I said, I'm just going to lay down a track real quick so we have a melody rough to listen to. And I sent it to him, and fully intending to redo it. Obviously, that was just my rough. And George said, "Man, no. it sounds fine. Don't mess with it. It's cool. And I said, well, yeah, but there's this and there's that. And he said, no, it's cool. It's a it's a thing. So
Wow. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think now might be a oh wait, I saw a question is Rennie is asking about your mouthpiece. So maybe now might be a good time to share about the mouthpiece you played your whole album on as well.
yeah, who did I pay to ask me about my mouthpiece now? Wait a second. Um, yeah, this is the Eric Marienthal special by Retro Revival. We designed it. It's been out for over a year now. I'm proud to say, has it? Yeah, and the tenor mouthpiece just came out about a month or two ago, and very excited about it. I did play this mouthpiece on this record, and every record since this came out. We spent about a year and a half developing it. This is about the 35th prototype, I believe, and rather this was our final product was the result of our 35th prototype, and Bob Shepard is one of the world's great saxophone players, and he really is he's a gear nerd, far more than I am. I've learned, more than I ever thought I'd learn about, saxophone mouthpieces and what makes what work and not work. And it was just not working, to be perfectly honest. We went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for a year. And it just honestly wasn't happening more than my Beachler that I played for 35 years. And we made one major design change on the beak of the mouthpiece, and it changed everything. It just made it speak and play so much more easily, and just was thick everywhere, just what I wanted. And then made one or two more small changes to make it a little easier to play. And this was the result. So yeah, the Eric Marienthal special by Retro Revival. It's all beautifully 18 karat gold plated. So.
Cool. Since we're at it, how about your reeds and ligature?
Wow, we're going into way geekland now.
Yeah. So
Um,
to answer all the tech gear
yeah,
questions
all right.
early on.
Playing my Rico. I'm sorry, Rico. My Van Dorn 2.5 blue box, and my ligature is an Ishimori ligature. You all know about Ishimoris from Japan. Ishimori is a shop, but he's also just a genius saxophone guy. He develops everything from reeds to horns to ligatures, obviously neck straps. I mean, everything, cases, everything you can think of, magic screws, and the whole 9 yards. So
Yeah.
ligature, the mouthpiece comes with a Rovner ligature, which is also actually very, very good. We wanted to have it come with something, and we couldn't afford. These are rather expensive, and we couldn't add that much to the cost of the mouthpiece. But the Rovners were inexpensive, and I was never a fan of the cloth, not cloth. What are they made of? Leather or
Yeah, I think leather. Yeah.
I was never a big fan of those ligatures, actually, and I played it. I had it on my tenor for a long time. I put a Harrison on lately, but they're cool, and it's part of the it comes with that way you're not you get this mouthpiece. The mouthpiece isn't it's
Yeah.
what you pay for, if you don't mind my saying so. So it's not a cheap mouthpiece, but so we didn't want to just ship a mouthpiece and not have there be
Yeah.
not be able to play it when you get it. You have to make another purchase in order to even
Yeah.
play that thing. So
Yeah.
the Rovner's cool. It works actually really well.
Cool. Yeah. Andy says we are geeks here. Yes, I think that should be enough gear talk for today. We definitely want to talk more about the album, which is dropping on September 11th. So I think now might be a good time to bring on our special guest and the producer for this album. Eric, do you want to say some nice words and introduction before we bring George on?
I can see him laughing in the background. And what can I say? All kidding aside, George is one of the great musicians you'll ever know. We can talk about his involvement in this record, which was mighty for sure. But he's produced all kinds of different things. He was working on a project of Herbie Hancock's music orchestration that was, I believe the concert was early this year, late last year, where George wrote the orchestrations for it, for the orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl, which was mighty. But I mean, George's credits go on and on and on. But he was a member of the Brucker Brothers, produced Brucker Brothers records, and as also has his he's an Artist Works instructor, has his school, really successful jazz piano school, and yeah, truly one of the great musicians, and I'm honored to call him my buddy and to have him have produced this record so well. So please welcome Mr. George Whitty. Yo, George.
Yes, hello from Twin Peaks, y'all.
Hi, George. Thank you so much for being here on this show.
It's my pleasure.
How's everything been so far, these past few months for you?
It's actually been surprisingly great. I bought a house in April, and sort of the COVID thing, right away, a tour with Frank Gambale got canceled. And all of a sudden, all this time opened up. It's a house that's needed a lot of fixing up. I'm sitting in a studio that I built, in a pretty drab looking basement, but it's gorgeous now. And so, I've had a lot of time to do that sort of thing. Yeah, work has been coming in, a lot of different stuff. Eric and I have worked on some stuff together, a project for a great drummer from South America named Brian Anadon, and doing some stuff for Dave Weckl. Eric and I both have a lot of, sort of educational stuff that we do online, and that's just been rocking. So far, so good, come on, vaccine. We had a tour scheduled for November, Eric and Randy and me. Weckl was supposed to be on it, and it was mostly in Spain, and it's kind of in mothballs for the time being. We're going to have to see if we can get that going again next year.
Yeah, what's funny is that I think it's, unless I haven't heard, it's still sort of officially on. I mean,
the guy's not answering the phone, though.
Well, there is that, yeah.
On, but not answering the phone. That's what we say.
I think we're just going to put a 1 at the end of the year date, so replace the 0 with a 1, and, just keep everything the same, and we'll just be doing it next year.
Yeah.
Did you guys have were you planning to tour the US as well for this album?
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, I've been kind of laying back. I had been sort of laying back on Steve Chapman is my manager, and we were kind of passing on a significant number of dates so that we could tour this record. I mean, it was going to be a big push this year. Hey, it's obviously that's, there's far worse issues that people are having than having tour dates canceled, believe me, obviously. But we'll get back out there. I was talking to somebody about what is it like or somebody asked me what it's like to release a record now, and why do that? Why not just push it? And number one, people need music more than ever now, and number two, it's going to be like the record is going to stay new for a long time, because it'll be the first time, even next year when we get out and play again, it'll be the first time that people will hear the music live and see the record and get a chance to purchase it at the gigs. And so in a way, it'll be an extended new cycle.
Cool. And maybe if we can go back right to the start, I think Eric, I think it was Steve Chapman who fed you the idea of, why not do an album with Randy Brecker. So, when you decided to do that album, how did you know, that George was going to be the one to produce this? How did that start off?
It's funny. I've been talking to Randy a ton lately, and we're, I know that unless Randy brought it up at some point, there could have, because we've talked about this record for a long time, and I mean, there'd be nobody, if it wasn't for George, there wouldn't be a record. I mean, absolutely not. And his name came up right away. But I think it was my thinking. We did a project, George, up in Napa for Artist Works. We did that jazz thing with you and I and Petitucci and Peter Erskine. And I had been thinking, the rehearsal lead up to it, I want to talk to George and see if he'd be into it. I want to talk to him. And you don't even know this, but all day long we were working, and I was thinking, okay, so how should I approach George? We're filming, and you guys are thinking about the music, and I'm thinking about how am I going to ask George to produce this record, And so we finished, and finally I went over to you, and you were so cool about it, man. It wasn't, you said,
of course.
Oh man, it's not so. It wasn't, of course, to me, man. It was, I mean, you were like, yeah, let's get into it. I thought, what you would have questions. Well, let me check my schedule. What music are we gonna do? Who's writing? Where we're gonna do it? And no, you were all in immediately, which I was so relieved about.
Wow, that's awesome. So George, I guess it was an easy yes for you when Eric asked.
Of course, I've been a fan of Eric since back in the day, the first edition of the Electric Band. Ever since I first heard him, and I've made so many records with Randy, and they're always just a total pleasure. We basically kind of laugh our butts off the whole time that we're making it, and so perfect fit. Eric kind of expressed that he wanted to do something a little bit down Brecker Brothers lane. So, I mean, gee, I love doing stuff like that. And, Eric's a really sweet guy, and it came together, and lo and behold, Shawnee was a great label to record for. And, we kind of got to make the record we wanted to make. So,
yeah, which is interesting actually, because the label, I mean, believe me, they've been amazing at every turn. It's been great. I'm not just saying that. I mean, I've been lucky that way throughout my career, but we're really cool. But the original idea was to make a smooth jazz record, and I thought, well, smooth jazz record with Randy Brecker, one of the fusion icons. Not that smooth jazz is bad, and this record proves that point, nor does smooth jazz have to be in a particular box. Certainly not anymore. But George and I had a lot of talks about this, where hey man, we're not going to tell Randy Brecker that he can just play a minor pentatonic scale and that's it. It's Randy Brecker, and the Danny Weiss, the head of Shawnee, from the very first note that he heard, he continues to be really into this record, and it's right, George? I mean, he's been so supportive.
Yeah, I mean, early on, he kind of told me that the target for it, at least for a lot of it, was the Watercolors channel on Sirius XM.
Right.
And I don't have Sirius XM, so I subscribed and started listening and just sort of starting to get a feel for what sort of things they like to play on there. And so Eric and I wrote a couple things, and I wrote a couple things as just sort of trial balloons. And lo and behold, Danny was really digging it, and off we went. To me, the goal, if you're making this kind of record, is to try to live up to the standard that Chuck Loeb set. Mm-hmm. Because Chuck, and I say this in all of these interviews, but he was able to really make a lot of music with a lot of meat on the bone that was sophisticated yet easy on the ears, and really great catchy melodies that the radio loved. And so we kind of dug in, and with some guidance from Danny, we made a record that I think hits all the buttons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Randy too. Randy was all in as well. To whatever we were going to do. I think obviously his long history with George, he knew that it was going to go in a very, very musical direction, and it was going to be great. And yeah, I mean, I remember getting Randy's first tracks. And actually, this is the first tune on the record. In fact, one of the few things that the record company insisted upon was that this tune was first. Danny was very cool about, like, he's very cool about everything, but he was really left things up to us. But there were 2 tunes on the record that he wanted, number 1 and number 2, and I think he feels they had radio consideration, I believe. But so when I heard this happened to be the first tune that I heard from Randy, and George, what is the effect that I could even play it actually, but the effect on Randy's solo is that typical wah-wah effect. Did you create that, or did he send that in the track?
No, Randy always sends that. So he sent just the straight trumpet, and then he sent the wah-wah. Randy's been using effects. Boy, we worked with on the Smooth Jazz Cruise, as a matter of fact. We worked with the guitar player on those real early Dreams things. He was on there, and he was telling me a bunch of really funny stories about how those guys got into effects. And it was this weird pod of effects. This was like 1968 or 69 that sat up like this. And, everybody had knobs and they could twiddle them and so forth. And Mike Brecker was into it. And, Randy was totally into it, and he's been into it ever since,
Remember the funk box?
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Actually, George, how did you first start working with Randy and the Brecker Brothers?
It was an interesting pathway. I had been working with this really great R&B band in Connecticut. We played Earth, Wind and Fire and Tower of Power, and a lot of great musicians came through there. Stanley Banks played there. Gary Haas played bass. Leo Traversa played bass. Bernard Davis played drums. We had, a bunch of really great musicians in it. And one of the people who came through it was Joel Rosenblatt, one of the great drummers in the world. And Joel he wasn't playing with Spyro Gyra at that time. Yes, he was, actually, now that I think about it. And he recommended me to Ileani Elias, a formidable piano player. And Ileani had made a couple records with a lot of production on them. And she was doing some live stuff. We did some TV shows and whatnot. And she wanted somebody to kind of be able to play the production. And Joel put my name in the hat for that. And, I was a huge fan of hers since the first minute I heard her playing with Steps Ahead. So she called me, and, she needed a lot of stuff. And I've always been very adept at playing a lot of stuff at once, a lot of different sounds, a lot of different textures. Like if you need somebody to play all the production on your record, I'm a pretty good choice. So I made sure that I did a really solid job with that gig. And then Randy and Mike were talking about, right around that time, doing another Brecker Brothers record. And so Randy wanted to get some demos whacked up, and Ileani recommended me for that. And so I kind of made sure that I really did a great job on those. And this was way back before we had, audio tracks in the sequencer and so forth. It was 1991, I think. But I was quite adept at the sequencer, and I'd, really been working on that stuff since it first came out. So I did a bunch of demos for Randy. Then, those turned into that first record. We kind of started with those as a template. And then out of the blue, and this is so typical of those guys, without really ever hearing me play live, they asked me to be in the band. And of course I said, hell yes, I'll be in the band. And that was kind of the beginning of all that. So that's how I ended up working with the Brecker Brothers.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And so now it's been almost probably going to be 30 years of working with Randy. Wow, that's, were
you on that? I'm sorry to interrupt you, man.
No problem, Eric.
George, were you on that gig in Istanbul?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one where it rained and rained and rained.
It didn't rain. It was like somebody took the ocean and went. We played. You guys played one night, and the electric band played the next night, and the the stage was covered. It was outdoors. Stage was covered, but the audience wasn't. And we came over from the hotel to check you guys out. And it was a torrential downpour, and it didn't let up for a second the entire concert. And you guys played a long show, and the audience had their umbrellas. But if that had been in LA, you guys would have been playing to the sound man and the lighting guy maybe. But nobody left. And the next night, the same. I mean, it must have let up at some point, but the next night, same exact thing happened. We were playing now, and it was the coolest thing because it made the lights look unbelievable. Like the lights were like underwater, and it was the coolest effect. But you guys sounded really good. I was going to say, you sounded a little wet, but
yeah, I mean, the Turks are tough. They weren't just out there like, wet dogs or something like that. They were dancing and partying. And, as you travel around the world playing music, you see a lot of stuff about a lot of different cultures. And I just loved that. They were absolutely undeterred. They were there to hear some music, and it could rain like hell, and they were all going to stay. So that was a really fun gig. And I still have a soft spot for Istanbul and for Turkey ever since.
Wow. Any other countries you guys have observed that happening when you toured?
Yeah. How much time do we have? In terms of rain or in terms of
yeah, just being undeterred and just enjoying the music no matter what.
Well, man, I mean, that's I played one concert with Chick in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and it was a free concert outside in the daytime, and they estimated between 70,000 and 80,000 people were in the audience, all standing, and just packed, super hot, and undeterred. I did a gig in Kampala, Uganda, one time. I did it on my own. I went and played with African musicians, and we were playing. They set up a big stage in some parking lot, and I just remember it being really, really hot, and that must have been why it was uncomfortable. We were just, sweat was pouring off of us all, and people just tore it up. Actually, I did it that year, and then a year or two later, I did it. I brought Chuck Lowe, the promoter. Actually, brought Chuck and I both together. Traveled. We actually went to the Lake Victoria, where the mouth of the Nile River is.
Wow. Wow. How about George? Any unforgettable memories?
A couple spring to mind. Russian audiences tend to be really great audiences, and I did this tour with Randy. It was Randy and Victor Bailey. I think Rodney Holmes played drums. Igor Butman probably played saxophone. Great Russian saxophonist. And who David Gilmour played guitar. And we took this really long train ride into Siberia. It was like a 15-hour train ride. We crashed on the train, and we got there and played at this hall, and 1,500 people turned up. It was a little town that began with N. I think it was Novosibirsk, but somebody tells me it's not. But man, this audience was the most tuned in audience. Like when you're playing, like, something goes by, either you play it or somebody else plays it, and you're like, gee, that was great. Or gee, that kind of, pooped its jammies a little bit. And this audience, whatever I thought, they thought it too. So if I thought somebody played a kick-ass solo, then the people freaked out like we were the Beatles. If I thought whatever happened was kind of mediocre, they sat on their hands, and I just loved that they were that in tune, like as a group. It was an unusually well-connected gig. And then, Eric, you probably remember playing at the old Tokyo Blue Note.
The little one. Yeah.
The little one was so much fun, but it was tight. especially with all our stuff up on that stage, like they were hanging off the stage and whatever. But boy, that was fun. It was kind of chaotic. It was really expensive to get in, and people had a lot of drinks there. But the enthusiasm, the way it felt to play there was really fun. It was kind of a 2-story thing, if I remember right.
Right. It was. And back then, if you went and played any of the Blue Notes, you played all 3.
Yeah, for a week each.
Yeah, you go.
Those were the days, my friend.
And the freaky, it was Tokyo and Osaka and Fukuoka. And you were off on. I think we were off on Sundays, actually. Oddly, either Sunday or Monday. I thought it was Sunday. That was the travel day. But the freakiest thing, the first time I ever played in Japan was '86. It was the GRP Super Live tour, and that was with Chick. And the thing I remember, besides the unbelievable amount of money that John and I spent on our first night at the hotel for dinner, but the second most thing that I remember was the audiences and how they reacted. The first concert we did, that band was, is actually, we have a new record coming out. As a matter of fact, talk about that record another time. But when we went and played the first concert, it was in a big theater, and the audience, we were used to that, pretty, hefty, applause and all, and they were like, people would applaud in all the right places, but it was very. At first, we thought it was subdued. At first, we thought they hated us, and we realized very quickly. But no, they're the audience all throughout Japan, were really listening intently and being very respectful and really into the music, and it became like everybody's favorite place to play, frankly, because of that reason. Audiences just they're in it. A lot. If you play a club and somebody gets a $50 hamburger, at the table, and the band comes on, they won't, I mean, I think it's just manners that you don't want to eat while the band is playing. It's poor manners, so they'll wait, to the concert. And, that was the Blue Note thing. And every musician has just such reverence for Japanese culture and Japanese audiences. It's just always, just so much fun. So amazing.
Wow. Thank you so much for those stories. It's amazing, and it's things that as the audience, we love to hear these stories, and of you guys, your experiences on tour. So maybe now might be a good time. Eric, do you want to play one more song, either the music, or if you want to play the saxophone part as well?
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Let me play. Unfortunately, there is one more track I could play. Maybe I'll save that for a bit. But let me play one tune from the record of George's. So where am I? Here we go. This is one of my favorite tunes on the record, quite frankly. It's called the Hipster, and it's one of the tunes. I guess I'm gonna go back so I can see it. There are. We're going to use the other musicians on this record as our trivia questions here, but not only did George play on this record and produce the record, but he also created a lot of the programming, and so you'll find out as soon as you look at the liner notes on this record that a lot of the when George Whitty produces a record and does the programming, it's not like he's going into GarageBand and finds like drum track number 5 and there you go, you got a drum track. I mean, he's playing those instruments, and so if as you listen to this track, this is one of George's compositions, and he's not playing the trumpets and he's not playing the saxophones, but he's playing everything else, especially the piano part, so you can hear threaded throughout. So and then you hear his solo at the end. Can I play this track? Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah, that would be great.
Here we go. This is called The Hipster from Double Dealin'. Yeah.
All right, that was the hipster. Thank you, Eric, for sharing that with us. Really, really groovy tune. And I think we have one question that I wanted to bring up here. So Andy is asking, for George, are you playing using a drum kit or triggering the drums from the keyboard?
I
What do you
do all my drum programming on the edit screens. So usually when I as something I've got a vibe in mind, I'll just kind of stab in some notes on the bass drum, a little bit just to get it going. Put in a snare on 2 and 4, hi-hat on 8th notes, and then I make like a 1-bar loop of that and start really refining it. I put a lot of ghost notes in on the snare, it's constantly chattering away the way a real drummer often does. And that it kind of changes the complexion of it. And I spend like, 45 minutes on that first bar, just getting it to really sit right. Then I copy that out to the second bar and make, a 2-bar cell out of it now, and a little bit of variations in that. Then I copy that out to make a 4-bar cell, and now I've got like little fills going on in there, and some stuff that's more interpretive. But I do it all on the edit screen. I'm very finicky about where the velocities are at, where the time is at. I never quantize anything 100%. So it's all that stuff is all kind of done. The drum stuff and the percussion stuff is all all done on the edit screens. When I teach a lot of production stuff, and I have several students who are pretty close to finishing their first record over, lessons that we do over Skype. And I always tell them that the best thing you can do is get really efficient and adept in Logic, so that, for example, you can do, when I'm doing a bass part, I have a key set up so that when I hit that key, it stops the recording, sets it back to the 4-beat count off, and puts me in record again. So I can do, 15 takes of the bass in 45 seconds, because the second I do something I don't like, either I don't like the time or I don't like the idea or whatever it is, I bang that key and I get it back. And I can really lay in a lot of stuff really quickly that way. And it's such a better use of the machine than looking at it like a tape recorder, where you stop and you reset the counter and this and that and the other. So I was doing this stuff on my little Elisa sequencer in 1989, and it was hard then. But yeah, I've kind of just gotten to where it's like second nature to me to do this stuff. I get into a groove with it and just do it mostly on the edit screens. The bass parts, I play those in, and the keyboards, obviously, I play those in.
Do you feel as a producer now, it's really important to be able to do that drum programming, bass programming? Because I don't think, not every producer does it, but do you, encourage your students to do that?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we have options now that we didn't used to have. For example, Logic's Drummer. It's kind of a plugin. You boot the thing up, you drag in a little loop of something, and bang, it sounds pretty good. I think it's all played in by a live guy. The sounds are really good. But even that, we might use that for the demo. But especially for this kind of music, we want the drums really working with the bass line, with catching things in the melody, especially when you've got this much horn section. We need the drums to be kicking that with it. So even in Logic's Drummer, you can take that and turn it into MIDI information so that you can get in there and monkey with it ad infinitum. So, sometimes my students will use that to write to, but then it's like, okay, let's split this out and dig into it. We're working on a bass line here. What can we do with these drums to flatter the bass line better and get it? I think there's really a limit to what you can do if you're just dragging loops in. It sure never sounds right to me.
No.
So,
nor does it feel right to play over. I mean, that's the thing about this record, was that for just on the tracks, obviously the ones that Dave played on, it was a different story. But your tracks just sound so natural, because they are just the way you're describing how you're recording. I remember, well, I guess one of our trivia questions. I can't mention the name of our drummer, but let's just say the drummer, who was very well known on the record, called me and said, "So." He heard one of the tunes that he didn't play on. He said, "So is there another drummer on the record? Is that George?" Or I mean, he didn't want to commit one way or the other, but the fact that he didn't know for sure that it wasn't a real drummer, and this particular person I'm thinking of in particular, is quite high praise for George's programming ability. That's for sure.
Well, and the truth is that my programming is probably just a pale imitation of that drummer's thing. I did a gig at the Baked Potato once, and we're setting up, and Tom Breckline was playing drums on that one, and a track came on. I think it was something that I did for Jeff Richman, and I had programmed all the drums on that. And it was, one of Jeff's kind of more intricate. He's a great writer, really beautiful writer, Jeff Richman. But this tune had a lot of stuff in it, and so I did some pretty detailed drum programming. And then people were going, "Gee, who is that?" And the person they settled on that it was Vinnie Colaiuta.
Wow.
which is high praise. You know, me on my most coffeeed out day can't match up to that. But, you know, I kind of finally mentioned, you know, well, actually, it's me, you know, diddling with my machine. If you get quick enough with the editing, you can try a whole bunch of things in very short order. And you know, I like to be able to just bang something in and listen, bang something in and listen, bang something in and listen. And, you know, I know it when I hear it. So I'll move the snare a 16th note earlier on beat 4, or I'll try this, I'll try that. If you're really adept with the editing, you can hear a whole bunch of things so quickly that it shapes itself up really fast. So,
yeah,
you know, if you're someone who dreads the edit screen, you got to come up with another way.
Yeah.
Right. Recording the record this way too, I mean, it really is like a painting, and it's not like a little teeny bit here, a little teeny bit there. You know, I said before, as far as the solos were concerned, they're, you know, sort of, you know, what do you call it, through composed, or not composed, but through performed, you know, just a stream of consciousness. But in terms of, like, you know, the horn parts, somebody mentioned, Phil, you had a question about you had a compliment about the horns. Thank you, Phil. Yeah, I mean, again, that's George's arranging. But the way we did it was that Randy played his trumpet parts, and of which I know saxophone wise, there's on all the 7 tunes have horn section, and there's 2 alto parts, 2 tenor parts, at least 1 Barry part. On a couple is 1 in particular. There's 2 Barry parts, or stereo. I played them both. So you have on Yuga, did the left right, so you can have a pan of that, and even, you know, some soprano in there just to get that voice, and it just all, you know. So when I was recording my parts, I was recording to what you had done, but I was also recording to what Randy had already played, and so it became a real, you know, a real fun challenge to, like, really match what Randy was doing, and it was cool. I mean, it's like, I don't know how to use the analogy, but, you know, one of the great, not only is Randy just, you know, an iconic jazz player, but he's just a fantastic trumpet player. Every note is just spot on in tune, and he has a feel. I remember, you know, he and I played a lot with Jeff Lorber. Did a lot of gigs actually with Jeff over the years, and Randy's not, I mean, he's like, his sound is so big and his feel is just so in there that at first, when I first started playing with him, I thought, oh man, you know, we're kind of behind, you know, and I quickly realized that no, you know, we're not behind, you know, I'm Russian. And, you know, and so sit back and listen to what Randy's doing and how he's feeling the time. And on this record, it was very much, you know, it's just so comfortable. It's just like climbing into that warm bed, and you know, you just get into that vibe, and then everything just flowed in terms of recording all those parts, and that's what made it. It's just Randy and I playing all those horn parts, and you know, and there's some just brilliant arranging on the part of George too. In particular, how you wrote for the Barry. I think I called you at one point, and you know, I said, so was this a mistake? Do you really mean, you know, kind of like.
Well, for one thing, my little synthesizer Barry goes down to, like, you know, ultra super subterranean. So that was the first call, is, you know, you've got notes that are about 1.5 octaves off the bottom of the horn.
Yeah. Well, but this tune also, you know how you watch an organ player, and, you know, the organ will kind of, you know, be kicking, you know, be playing left-hand bass maybe, but then he'll be kicking the foot pedals to get little, you know, the syncopations, the little, you know, accents here and there. And I felt like a lot of the Barry parts were serving the function of that. When you were writing those parts, was that the idea?
No, what it actually, unfortunately, is it's kind of the left hand of a clavinet. So, you know, and my favorite band probably ever is Tower of Power. You know, just peerless in so many ways. And the way that they anchor the horn section with the Barry was in the mix. But as I'm sticking stuff in, I kind of play it a little bit like a clavinet, where you're poking at the left hand, even if you don't really hear it so much. But it's the right hand is anchored off the left hand. But that means that the left hand sounds mighty peculiar if you isolate it. And that's what you got, is the baritone parts were the mighty peculiar left hand musings and fillings in of some piano player.
I mean, there were a few tunes where I thought, I actually on either Yuga or maybe this one, there was there's a lot of stuff there, and I was like, cross out, I was editing like crazy, and then I remember going back and going, well, let me, because I just didn't think it was either playable or it was off the horn or whatever, and I just kind of made it work the first chorus, and then it clicked. I thought, oh, now I get it.
There's a logic to it, but weirdly, it's the inverse of my logic. If you watch a great keyboard player, there's a great keyboard player named Ricky Peterson, for example. I love to watch Ricky play. He's great at everything, but he's particularly a great B3 player. And we kind of, rather than, if you're playing a real syncopated part, if you kind of offset it with stuff that maybe is between the beats or on the beat with your left hand, it's a lot easier than waiting and anticipating and trying to nail something exactly on the thing. You get into this little flow about it. But again, when you isolate the left hand, now you're stuck as the Barry player with the stuff that is all disjointed, and you got to, wait and nail the anticipation. And you did it so great. I mean, something about the way that track came over the interwebs, the Barry was nice and prominent, and you can really hear what a crazy baritone saxophone part it is. But it came out great. Like, I with you, I know I can send stuff to you, and you'll make it great. I mean, even the horn sections weren't specifically written. Like, I wasn't thinking, well, we'll have the trumpet play this, we'll have the alto play this, we'll get a trombone player, like this. It was just me putting in horn parts and you guys figuring out how to make it sound great. And, it was a lot of work, but I think they really came out cool.
Yeah, no, yeah. It was very, very fun to play. It was a challenge, but, after the first tune or two, I thought, oh man, this is just making it. And then having the horns, the melody horns, Randy and I on top, there you go. I mean, you mixed this record and you mastered it as well. And going back to that tune, You Got, I don't know how you refer. It's the only tune we covered, but it's a Randy Brecker tune from a Brecker Brothers record. So it's not really a cover tune if you're covering one of your own songs. But I guess
it's a reimagining.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, it was arranged where, on the original record, you have the voices sort of contrapuntal to the horns. And with this, you have the horns kind of, contrapuntal to each other. And I remember, with the demo, it was all just sort of up front because we were, recording. And I remember thinking, wow, this is going to be not an easy one for George to mix. And what was, obviously I was blown away by what you ended up doing, but it was fun to listen to the process and how suddenly things, were here, and then, and then it just all went here, and everything has got its place. You can hear everything. And yeah.
Well, that one started out as a little bit more of a dance track kind of thing. Brecker Brothers back in the 70s, I think they were on Arista, and they really kind of wanted them to, kind of be Average White Band or something like that. Randy has a great story about going out with Average White Band, and Average White Band was the opener, and the Brecker Brothers were the headliner. And then out comes Pick Up the Pieces, and Randy says by the end of the tour, they were the opener and Average White Band was the headliner. But so they did a lot of tunes like that. that one really, it has a lot of Will Lee in it to me. Will's sensibility about it, as well as the great bass playing. But to do it for this, I kind of wanted to put a little bit more of a bump on the drums, a little more syncopation.
Yeah. Randy has another great story about Brecker Brothers wise. How the band got its name. It was originally the very first Brecker Brothers record. You know this very well. Was originally Randy's record. Randy was writing the tunes, and Michael was just the little brother who was just practicing a lot, and Randy wanted him on the record. It wasn't just a little guy that he dragged on this record, but it was all fully intended to be Randy's record. And when they were, not only did they add the vocal tune, what's the tune that George wanted to have, Bruce Lemvall rather wanted to add on the tune that they wrote in the studio. So Bruce said, okay, yeah, the record's great, but I don't want it to be a Randy Brecker record. I want you to call it the Brecker Brothers, because it's featuring Michael a lot. And Randy couldn't really get upset about or dissuade the idea. Number one, it was Michael Brecker, and it was his brother and all. But that was Bruce Lemvall's idea. Yeah.
Wow.
Sneaking Up Behind You. That's what it was. The tune.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. I think now would be a very good time for me to share the link to purchase this album. We've been sharing a lot about it. And so before we forget, I'm going to drop. Yeah, Eric has the album there. And so you guys can purchase it from this Amazon link. It's officially released on 11th September. And I think now will also be a good time to share about the giveaway. So for the first CD, let me share that link again. So for the first CD, we have the first question, and Eric will be the judge of it. It will be the first correct answer with the correct spelling on our platform here. So whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, it's perfectly in sync. So either platform, it's no problem. So first correct answer with the correct spelling, Eric will be the judge, and we will call it out right here. And after this, to claim your CD, you can drop Eric a message on Facebook, and we will be able to get your details. So the first question for the first giveaway is: besides Eric, Randy, and George on this album, name 2 other special guest musicians who played on this album. So we need both names and spelled correctly. So who are 2 other musicians who played on this album besides Eric, George, and Randy? So a hint, I think we
have a winner.
Yeah, I think we have a winner. We just need to double check the spelling. Eric, is this the correct spelling?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
All right. Roger, congratulations. Roger Pace, you won the first CD. Correct
Jody
answer.
Espina suggests Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah, Jody.
Oh,
hey,
Jody. Hi, Jody. I have no idea who is that.
You're right. It's before your time, Daniel. Come on, man.
You got to get hip. Getting hip means watching the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah. No, McHale's Navy. Come on.
All right. So, Roger, you won the first signed CD. So, drop Eric a message on his Facebook page, and he'll get your details and mail it out.
I got Roger's details. I got your details.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
No, Roger's artist work student, along with a lot of these guys, these folks.
Nice. That's
Roxy,
awesome.
if I see this correctly, Roxy, you were a close second. Man, George.
Yeah, Roxy was a close second. Thank you so much for all those who typed in really quick.
Yeah.
We have one more CD to give away, and probably just towards the end of the show, which we are coming very close to. So stay tuned. One more CD to be given away, and at this time, I'll also drop the website for George, so you can check out his music. You can contact him directly as well. So this is going into the comments right now. And I'm gonna be dropping in the link where you can purchase Eric's signature mouthpiece from Retro Revival. And lastly, this will be a link to Eric's Artist Works course, and you can also look for George Whitty's course on Artist Works as well. So let me drop that in.
Absolutely.
So, and Eric, maybe at the same time, you can share about our special guest for next week's episode.
That's right. We're going to do it 1 hour earlier. So wherever it's going to be at 6 o'clock Pacific time. So
Yeah.
U.S. time, it'll be 9 o'clock Eastern time. But it's going to be Randy Brecker himself. Randy has agreed to come on next week and talk about the record, and we'll be talking about George.
I'll be on the comments, so keep it.
You keep it clean, right?
That's right.
Your ears will be burning, man. Yeah, I mean, Randy and I have been doing really excited that we've been doing a lot of promo. Shawnee Records has been really fantastic about creating promotion and just putting us out there and getting all kinds of good press and things. So I'm excited and man, the record just turned out beyond my wildest imagination. We because of traveling schedules back in the before times, it was hard to get the three of us together, plus Dave and John and so it took a minute for this record to come about, but at every turn it was just so much fun. George, as he well knows, just the greatest, and Randy. I've played a lot with Randy, and we've recorded some in various situations. But to be able to, when you're working on a record with whoever it is, whether it's your co-leader or producer or other musicians, it's a process and it's a journey. And I've been very fortunate. This is my 15th solo record, and I have never ever had a single moment of bad experience. But you hear about issues, and it gets deep. I mean, there's a lot of deep in that. Music is it's pulling on your emotions, and if you feel one way about something, it can be some small little detail in the mix, or it could be something in the writing or whatever. You tend to stick to your guns, and so I've heard we've all heard horror stories about how certain records have been made, and I'm lucky with my records, and this one, I got to say in particular, was just so much fun because at every turn it was just so great. George would be doing these unbelievable tracks, and the tunes that we were writing, George and I wrote half the record right here, and it was just I've got this cool studios back here in my backyard, and my wife is a landscape designer, so George's girlfriend would come and hang in our beautiful backyard that Leanne's done, and we were in here making music, and it was like, man, where's the pina colada? Where's Jimmy Buffett? This is too cool.
Yeah, I think Terry is asking George to do a surprise pop in next week.
Hey, what are you doing next week, George?
You never know.
Tuesday at 6.
There you go, baby.
That's awesome.
You and Ernest Borgnine can make a special appearance.
Eric, I wanted to ask you, so do you know if there's a single out on radio already on Watercolors?
It's about to hit. They decided that they wanted to get the record, the single rather, around the same time as the release. There's a reason for that, which I'm not entirely sure. But in any event, it's the tune I just played, the title track from Double Dealin', and I believe the single comes out next week, as a matter of fact.
Okay, that's cool. So that's another way where you guys can listen and request for the tune as well, on all your favorite radio stations. So that's awesome. I saw a question for George. Uh, George, Andreas asked you teach production to your students at Artist Works as well.
Can't really teach production on Artist Works. When I do that via Skype, people will send me something that maybe that they started in Logic, or else I'll start something. I send people this template with 20 tracks of really great drum sounds and a great Rhodes sound and stuff, all using the Logic's instruments. But then we do a screen share. So kind of as I'm doing my thing and building the track, they're watching on screen and I'm explaining everything that I do. But Artist Works isn't really a format where you can do that. It's, they have a great thing there called Video Exchange, where you can make a recording of yourself playing, and Eric's done like more than 1,000 of these, and I'm getting up there too. And then send it in, and we'll respond with a bunch of personalized, responses for you. I'm quite a gas bag with it. Mine are like 8 or 10 minutes long. Eric does more than I do, I think. But that's not really enough of a way to collaborate, over the internet on a track. So, and those lessons are really focused on the playing side. If people have other questions, questions about how do I get a gig, or questions about arranging, or anything like that, we're happy to help with that too. But for the most part, the production stuff has to happen on Skype.
Okay, and they can just contact you through your website. That'll be the best way. Great, awesome. So Andreas, you can. I dropped George's website already just now, so you can contact him there, and then I think that would be the best way to take this forward. And another question from Andrew. He says, "Hi George, when can we expect to see an update to the Burn app?"
The Burn app. It's kind of a complex situation, that one. When we did that, I collaborated with this guy who did all the programming, amazing programmer. And it was back when the iPhone OS was a 32-bit operating system. And when they moved to a 64-bit operating system, we needed to update it, but this person was too busy to update it, and he has the code, and I couldn't kind of pry it loose to get it where I could update it. So it's a casualty of the 64-bit thing, which is too bad because it was a uniquely great play-along app. Yeah.
Cool. So thank you for that update, George. And let me see if we have any last questions. I think we're definitely coming to the end of this show. Thank you, George, so much for your time, for being
My
here.
pleasure.
It's so great having both of you on screen and sharing about this album and all the stories. So if anyone has any last questions, do let us know right here in the comments. And for those who are on Facebook, you can click the link above to the YouTube channel of Eric, and there'll be a lot more videos coming up. So don't forget to subscribe. Let's see. Fernando asked, will Eric play again at least more?
Yeah, we were hoping that George and I could play something together, but we tried that before we went on air, and to a failing result, I'm afraid. George, you got any keys behind you or next to you there?
I do.
Yeah, you want to bang on some of them? Maybe kind of
like this.
Beautiful. What's that called?
I'll fix it on the edit screen. Let's see. Tomorrow I'm playing up here in Lake Arrowhead at the Blue Jay Jazz Festival. They're having kind of an instrument collection thing, and gathering. Bruce Rubio's band is playing. I'm going to sit in with them some. And I might play a tune myself. And if I do, I might play this classic that a friend of yours and a friend of mine played the crap out of with Herbie Hancock in like 1976. I've always loved the way they played this piece.
Yeah.
Someday your prince will come.
Thank you so much, George, for that. Really, really beautiful. Thank you so much. Awesome. And yeah, Jody is here as well. And thank you so much, guys, for your kind comments. Terry is asking Eric to play soprano, I think.
It's here somewhere. Oh, I happen to have it right here. Although I didn't play it. But okay, this is going to be. It looks kind of okay. Let's see.
That is what a
so much,
soprano
Eric.
saxophone is supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
Is that your own mouthpiece too, or are you just doing an alto mouthpiece?
I do an alto mouthpiece and a tenor mouthpiece. The soprano, actually, we're just getting started, so I'll be
start right there.
We're calling Jody to get some tips on how to make a good soprano.
Wow, yeah,
Beautifully done, though. That was
thank you. Yeah, finally, I'm not prepared at all. I feel like what was it, Anchorman, and he pulls out the flute out. I wasn't prepared at all. He pulls the flute out of his soprano.
cool. Thank you so much, Eric. And I think now might be a good time to do the second and final giveaway for this week's episode. And if you guys didn't win, I think Eric, will we be doing another giveaway next week with Randy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So if you guys don't get a chance to win this week, you can tune in next week, and Eric will be giving away another 2 CDs. That'll be really nice. So I think the final question. So same thing. First person to reply, popping up on our screen here with the correct spelling will be the winner of the signed CD. And the question is, okay, let me this bigger. Okay. So the question is, which record label is this album released on? So once again, which record label is this album released on?
Drum roll. Come on, George. Drum roll. You got any drums over there? Come on.
Okay, but the spelling has to be correct. So I think at the moment we don't have the correct spelling yet.
Oh, I played it too early. Oh, there we go.
All right. So Eric, this is correct, right? From Harry.
Let's see. Let me find
Harry's got it.
Looks correct to me.
We have a winner, Phil. Yeah. Is that Phil? Oh wait. Oh no.
No, it's Harry.
Harry. Oh,
Harry.
Phil. Ben.
Yeah.
Same
So Harry was the third,
Phil.
but the previous two had the wrong spelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we have our lucky winner, Harry Miller. Thank you so much. You were the third to type it in but the first with the correct spelling. So thank you so much. Do drop Eric a message on his Facebook or Instagram, works as well, and he will get in touch and send you that CD. So thank you so much, and for the rest who participated as well, thank you so much. Sorry?
Yeah, tune in next week for another chance to win a CD and
Yeah.
to talk to Randy Brecker and maybe a flyby by our producer, Mr. George.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, once again. And I think maybe Eric, do you want to play one more tune of the album to close off this session?
I can try. Let's see. I'll sort of fake my way through it. How's that? There's another tune actually that we talked about quite a bit that George just did an unbelievably great bang up job. So let me pull up the track here. George, what's the history behind this tune?
Are you talking about You Ga?
Yeah.
Well, it was like I said earlier, it was kind of a dance track. They got a really great singer to sing it. I am spacing on the guy's name. But everything was first class with these guys. I don't know if Luther Vandross is on backgrounds on this, but Luther sang on some of the Brecker brothers, like the third and fourth one, I think. But of course, when you got Will Lee in the band, you got a lot of vocals right there. And it's it was more of a dance beat thing when it originally came off. And I remember I sent you a thing saying, what if we covered this? Because there was some discussion of doing Sneaking Up Behind You, which, by the way, I have a funny story that Will told me about that track. He says, do we have time?
Oh, we do.
Okay. I think that's the one. It has a party track on it. And whatever it was a Brecker Brothers tune with a party track on it. And, you get everybody out there is like, yeah, let's put a party track on this. And so they put a microphone out there, and it's Mike and Randy and Will and, Grolnick and like, so they're out there trying to kind of get the party track going. And it's like, yeah, oh yeah, whoa. And it's totally not making it. So Will went down to the bodega downstairs and got all their cans of whipped cream and brought them up, and they did all the nitrous oxide. And Will said that got the party started. But by the end, like the floor of the studio was covered with whipped cream. But like that's the party track that was on there. So anyway, I sent this to you, and you kind of said, I'm not hearing it. And so I said, well, let me mess with it. Let me send 16 bars. What's that?
It definitely evolved.
Yeah. And it was a funky, great track the way it was originally done, but that was a vocal track. And so we kind of took some of the background vocals and put them in the horn section. And I did a bit more of a syncopated, my ersatz Garibaldi thing on the drums. And there you have it. And you guys played the crap out of it, and it's one of my favorite tracks on the record.
Yeah, me too, actually. Okay, so here's an attempt at You Got. Here we go, by Randy Brecker. Okay, if I can, all I have to do is, oh, I'm on the wrong thing. Sorry, I had all that time to find it. There you go. We're live, actually, so. Okay, so it's got to be here, and you'll hear Randy solo too. So off we go. Stereo baritone saxophones, by the way.
Bravo, maestro.
All
And
right.
Randy's thing on that, it could only be Randy.
Exactly.
Using that spot that way.
Yeah.
And just even this tune has that thing in that a lot of Randy stuff does, where it's just got that wrinkle in it.
Yeah. You can tell. He played that plunger solo, right? And then halfway through, he told a hilarious story about how he got that plunger. He went, it's a plunger, like a toilet plunger, right? For people who don't play trumpet. And so he goes to the hardware store and finds a plunger, and he knows what his trumpet bell size, and he finds one. He goes, "Oh yeah, this should work great," and he buys it. And he walks out of the store, and the salesman comes running after him and says, "Hey, sir, you forgot the stick."
He's like, "No, you have it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the guy's imagining with his hand.
Exactly. Yeah, he said, "I don't need the stick, but I'm doing with it." And the guy, probably gave him a very weird look. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Eric. I just shared the link again where you can pre-order. You can purchase this album on Amazon or any other platforms that you like to purchase your music from. And thank you so much for our two winners for having the fastest fingers with the correct answer. And Eric will send you the signed CDs. And thank you once again, George, for your time. We really, really appreciate
My
it. So
pleasure.
fun having you.
Thanks for having us and featuring the record.
Yeah, and maybe next week we might see a cameo from you.
You might
see. Yeah, but next week we have Randy Brecker coming on Eric's show, and it'll be 1 hour earlier than today, so 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and for rest of the time zones, I'm sure you guys can figure it out. But best way to keep in contact is with Eric's social media. On Facebook and Instagram, both at Eric Marienthal Music. And don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. So thank you so much once again for everyone, tuning in from all over the world. We hope that you will enjoy this album and get your hands on it and enjoy the full the wonderful work that this is. And one more, we have one more week of shows leading up to the release of the album. So next week we have Randy Brecker, and then in a few days time after that the album will be out. So we're really looking forward to it. And once again, thank you so much, Eric, George. It's been great. And and any last words, Eric?
Well, two things real quick. Number one, three, I want to thank George, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
I want to thank so many people for tuning in. Their names are scrolling by faster than I can. But everybody, thank you so very, very much for doing that. And Daniel, I want to thank you and everybody. I'm sure everybody knows your music, but Daniel Chia is an amazing musician, fantastic saxophone player, and so please follow his channel and his just very embedded in so much in the world of music. But thank you for creating this show, and people got to make sure people check out your music and your records as well, because they're absolutely fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eric. And for all of you, you guys make this happen. And we see a lot of friends from Brazil, all the flags flying high here. So thank you so much. And if we don't get to your comments, it's not that we don't want to show you guys love, but the comments move really fast. So we may not be able to catch every single question, but I think Eric is gonna try his best to do as many live streams as possible. So always come back, ask your questions, and we'll definitely try to feature and answer them. If not, we'll see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Pacific time, for this SAX TRAX with Eric Marienthal. So once again, have a great evening or morning wherever you guys are, and see you guys.